The rise and fall of superpowers is not random. History shows a clear pattern. Spain, Britain, and the Soviet Union all reached the peak of global dominance and then collapsed because they followed the same mistakes, stage by stage. Today, the United States shows alarming similarities. Spain in the 16th century controlled half the world's gold and silver. By 1550, its galleons brought home 100 tons of silver per year. The Spanish crown spent it all on wars across Europe, the Americas, and the Mediterranean. Within 80 years, Spain declared bankruptcy 4 times, inflation exploded, productive capacity collapsed, and colonies like the Netherlands and Portugal slipped away. Spain went from superpower to regional player and never recovered. Fast forward to Britain in the early 20th century. At its peak, it ruled 25% of the world's land and population. London was the financial capital, and the pound sterling the global reserve currency. But World War I cost over $40 billion, roughly $1 trillion today. Debt spiraled. Attempts to maintain the pound's gold standard crushed exports. By 1947, Britain lost India, its crown jewel, and the empire gradually vanished. By the 1970s, Britain's global influence was a shadow of its former glory. Then the Soviet Union. By 1980, it spent 15 to 20% of GDP on military, far more than the U.S. central planning failed. Factories produced junk, farms failed. Technology lagged. Oil revenue masked underlying weakness. By the late 1980s, the ruble was worthless. Reserves were depleted, and satellites in Eastern Europe defected. In 900 days, the USSR ceased to exist, a superpower gone not by war, but by economic collapse. Now, look at the United States. Stage 1. Military overextension. With 750 bases in 80 countries, $850 billion annual defense budget, and commitments from NATO to East Asia, the U.S. is stretched thinner than ever. Stage 2. Currency debasement. Since 1971, the dollar lost 98% of its purchasing power. Money supply has increased for 100% since 2000. Stage 3. Debt spiral. National debt is $36 trillion to 120% of GDP. Interest payments alone approach $1 trillion annually. Stage 4. Loss of productive capacity. Manufacturing is hollowed out. The U.S. imports $800 billion more than it exports each year, including critical military components. Stage 5. Social decay. Crime, homelessness, drug overdoses, and political dysfunction are at historic highs. Fertility rates are collapsing. Trust in institutions is eroding. Spain, Britain, and the USS are all stopped at Stage 5 before the final collapse. The U.S. is already deep into this stage. Stage 6. Loss of reserve currency status is showing early signs. Nations are exploring alternatives to the dollar. BRICS countries are trading in local currencies. And China is stockpiling gold. Stage 7. Collapse follows naturally when debt becomes unsustainable. Military overreach cannot be funded, and global trust erodes. The lesson is simple: superpowers are not immortal. Economic health, military efficiency, productive capacity, and social cohesion are inseparable. Overspending, overextension, and ignoring structural weakness always lead to decline. The U.S. can still avoid the worst, but only by confronting reality, reducing debt, restoring domestic production, and rebuilding trust in institutions. History doesn't care about technology, innovation, or American exceptionalism. The math is clear. Spain, Britain, and the USS are all failed after repeating the same mistakes. The U.S. must learn from them or risk becoming the next cautionary tale.